Imagine, did he actually buy the Panthers though?
Oh God.
North
At,
Carolina Panthers. What did he call them? The North Carolina
at,
Panthers.
at least we avoided that.
Ricky Raid's here. I want to call you Ricky Bobby because, like, I just see it behind you. I want to call you Ricky Bobby,
Yeah.
but I'll call you Rick, Slick Rick.
It happens, man. If you happen to call me Ricky Bobby, there's worse things that I've been called in my life, so I won't take it too harsh.
I still tell my kid you're the first or last. Like he's turning 4. I'm like, there's no second,
That's
first
it,
or
man.
last.
There's one speed, go, right? That's it, man.
And let's go. So you're drinking a cocktail. I'm drinking a craft beer.
Yes,
Cheers
sir.
to you, sir.
Cheers,
I was
man.
gonna say we can pretend we're at a bar and drinking our sorrows, but
yeah, we could just
not
be
much
at
to
our
say.
actual homes and still drinking our sorrows, right?
It was Monday at like 10:30 Eastern, and little did we know what was gonna happen. Literally, the
didn't anticipate there being this kind of news to talk about in week 2 of the season, right?
Like I did not expect us to be talking about the news, and then holy crap, what's the next 3-5 years going to look like? It just changes everything. Changes the trajectory of this team. And
yeah, man.
So what was your reaction when it happened? Bryce got benched. If you've been living under a rock, where Bryce is benched, Andy Dalton from the 2011 draft, starting on the weekend. Ricky, what were your thoughts?
So it's difficult for me, Phil, because I'm what you would call a Bryce Young apologist, supporter, defender, however you want to call it, right? And that stems, though, from my genuine belief that he's a talented player that had the skills to make it in the NFL. I do prospect evaluations in the offseason for draft classes and things of that nature. And he was my number 1 prospect. Him and CJ Stroud were very close, but he was my number 1 prospect, not just the number 1 quarterback, but number 1 overall prospect. I thought that he was a very, very good prospect. Had pretty much everything you look for except for the physical size, right? I think that what happened here, Phil, for me, that first year, man, went about as poorly as it could have. And the infrastructure around Bryce Young, talking about from an organizational standpoint, from his playmakers, from his protection, any of that stuff, he wasn't insulated at all. And so when things went poorly, I don't think that he got the support that he probably needed. And we know that his father is, a therapist, and that he's very big into like the mental health and everything like that. But when you're in a new venture in the NFL, playing professional football for the first time, and you're not finding success that you found your entire athletic career, I think that it hits you in the gut, man. And I just don't think that he had anything to help him there. And what we're seeing is the long-lasting effects of that season. And unfortunately, man, it is a earned benching, in my opinion. He was playing differently than I've ever seen him play in any game film I've ever seen of Bryce Young. And that's an alarming situation, not just for fans, but if you're a first-time head coach who's looking in on his players, Dave Canales had a choice to make, right? Yeah. Either he thinks that Bryce can suffer through until he finds success, or he stops the suffering immediately and still hopes to find success. So for me, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's shocking that it happened because I did not anticipate regression, and everything we saw and heard in the offseason was the opposite type of sentiment. Yep. So surprising, yeah, man. But you know what? It's part of the business as well. So what you hope for here now is that Bryce takes it seriously, and I'm sure he will, and that Andy Dalton comes out and shows, hey, look, man, the offense isn't completely putrid. There's some redeemable qualities. At least that's what you hope. I don't know that I feel that way. After looking at the offense, I'm not sure that Andy Dalton's going to make that much of a difference. But I do think that the calming veteran presence and the lack of panic, which is what Bryce Young has shown through 2 weeks, I think will be a big thing for this offense.
Yeah, I think it was shaky. And I'm like you. Like, if you look back, like, the part about being the content creator, you can go back. I'm not deleting videos, but like, I think it was last year, or 2 years ago. It was week 4 or week 6. And I literally made a video. I was like, well, we're done. Bryce Young's our quarterback next year. Like, I did that week 4. I was like, that's it. It's about, like, I had my eyes on him, seems like everybody had their eyes on him. And anything that anyone said about his lack of height or athleticism, they're like, yeah, but his brain, his processing power, he's Steph Curry, or like, or in my head, I was like, he's Professor X. Professor X, not a physical guy. He's like a mental guy. He can download stuff. He's a genius. He's like Peyton Manning. And that's what I really thought we were getting. And yeah, I think he had a horrible rookie, or a horrible situation. We learned more about that as the year went on. And it seemed like the team, and you're getting this a lot from people. I don't know if they watch Panther football every day or,
Right.
watch training camp like you do and other guys do. But like it seemed like the offense, there was a conscious effort to fill the holes that were there for him that made his rookie year so bad.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rookies out there, first of all, picks whose first year is so bad. Trevor Lawrence was maybe
100%.
worse, maybe worse,
Yeah.
toxic even. And I'm not saying he's doing great right now. He said right now his team sucks right now.
Right. But he got paid, right? The team obviously believes in him though.
Yeah.
And that's alarming too, though. Is it Canales who's this like optimism bully and instills confidence in every stop that he goes to? For him to pull the plug after 2 games, and I know there's skepticism on was it actually him? Was it
we'll talk about
Big
that.
Tepper, right? But I think it is telling though that they were at a point so soon that they felt they needed to take action. That's
if anyone's going to fire me or bench me, it'd be Dave Canales. I feel like he'd be so nice about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he would do some really nice stuff and make you feel good. And when they benched,
I laid out rose petals all the way down the hallway into his office.
Like, hugged them, read a verse or something.
Right.
Tell them that, hey, you're 23 years old. Like you got, like Baker Mayfield said, there's so much. The story's not even done written about Bryce Young right now. But when they did it, I was not. The only thing I thought about was, is he like, sure, you're doing this for his confidence, but is he going to have the confidence to come back with the Panthers if it's not working out, or if Andy Dalton is again 36 years old, if he gets hurt, like, what's it going to be like if he trots out there? What's that confidence going to be like? And I also wanted to think about, I was thinking about like, how bad has the locker room been? Like, what was this like? And I was reading Jeremy Fowler. Now it seems like the whole NFL is looking at this right now. Like Rich Eisen is on day like 5 talking about this. I still can't believe it. I'm obsessed. I texted my brother, like, I think I'm in like denial, and now I'm in this stage of like acceptance.
Yes.
And because I don't think anyone anticipated this happening. And Jeremy Fowler was saying, guys knew from spring who should be starting. And I was like, wow, that's wild. And because everything that was done this offseason was built for Bryce. Now, I don't know if I'm reading it properly, but it said like, guys have seen this from spring until week 1. They know who should have started, aka Andy Dalton. So I was like, wow, what was Bryce not doing in the offseason? It wasn't really striking a chord. I remember Davion Kleiner was asked about Bryce's leadership, and he talked about he's not a very vocal guy.
Right.
And and in this Jeremy Fowler article, they talk about how Andy Dalton is going to be this calming veteran presence in a time of transition. That's what you need. You don't need a kid who's kind of being handled with kiddie gloves right now.
Sure.
And you can see that frustration with some of the vets out there. And I couldn't believe it's happening this quick. I think most people, I don't know if you're in this boat. I thought give Bryce the whole year, see what happens. But then we think about it's more than just Bryce's development.
Yeah.
It's these other guys.
Well, and you know what's interesting, man, that you bring that up too, is that like that was my overall hope for the season, is that Bryce was going to get the season to prove it. But I've always been on record. I do a little bit of contributing for Cat Crave, so I've got a couple articles where we answer questions from fans and stuff like that. And it's the same thing that I've said from the day one with Bryce Young. The only way I saw him losing his job here in Carolina was if he showed severe regression. I said it from day one. I didn't think that there was any kind of growing pains that would scare them off. I didn't think he had to be ultra consistent when it came to putting up large production numbers. I don't think any of that mattered. I think that they needed to feel confident that he felt confident and that he was the guy. And I think that what he did through 2 weeks is show the exact opposite, to the point where they also, man, look, that's also part of the decision here. They got 15 games left on the schedule.
Yep.
If Canales feels even remotely confident in the squad, right? Or if he wants to see what he drafted in Xavier Legette, if he wants to see what they invested $150 million in with the interior offensive line, he might say the only way I could get a true read on any of those things is with a different quarterback, because this quarterback that we have right now is not the quarterback I anticipated him being.
I'm not a Tepper. Like I'm not. Someone actually suggested on my comments, because I made this video about Tepper, that I'm like vying for a job for Tepper Entertainment. Like no. I'm just saying it just seems like a lot of these guys, a la Mike Florio, just straight up hate Tepper, and like a lot of the analysis and the reaction to what's happening to Bryce. It's almost like, how dare you bench my son? And then just going personal with Dave Tepper.
Right.
Where there's owners out there who've done way worse. And like, in terms of like stuff off the field.
Sure, yeah. Like being a good person or not, like it's a whole lot different story. And the thing with Tepper that I find interesting, because I do understand how you can't exactly absolve him from everything because of the fact that his hands were involved from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like he was a meddler, and he still is. Like, I'm not going to use the past tense. He still is a meddler. And I do think that one of the defenses that holds merit, though, to David Tepper is the fact that this is his team. It's his football team. And no matter how we think that he may be corrupting it and messing with the natural habitat of a football team, right? Is like, just leave it alone. Let its ecosystem do what it does. Like, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. Let it figure its own shit out. But like, also, you don't interject yourself into it. But it's really easy to say that when, as fans, we're also like breaking down and criticizing every small move, and we're not owners of that team. We don't have any vested interest other than fandom. He does. So like, I understand him wanting to be in the know and involved. And maybe he didn't make this call. I think that he had to have given his approval or his blessing, because it's such a, franchise altering decision, right? The likelihood of Bryce coming back and being confident enough to take over that starting position is slim to none. I'll just level with you my opinion on that. Historically, you haven't seen it. Could he go somewhere else and get another shot? Sure. Does it typically happen with the same team and turn out well? Not really, man.
Yeah, we're seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tepper obviously is going to give his okay on that, whether he's okay with it or not. But man, I don't know. I want to get over the excuse thing, and not saying that it's not a valid excuse, but I want to get over the part of all this where we talk about David Tepper, where we talk about Frank Reich, where we talk about Matt Rule, where we talk about any of the previous blunders, not hiring Steve Wilkes. I mean, you could literally go back to that and say that was probably the most damning thing that's happened in the last 5 years. Not even the Bryce Young pick, not any of that other stuff, but moving away from the clear choice that was actually winning football games for you when you haven't won football games as a franchise under your ownership. You probably should have just hired him as the coach.
First of all, do you have a Bryce Young jersey? Is it somewhere in your house?
I don't have a Bryce Young jersey. My son does. And it's the very first jersey I've ever gotten my son. So I haven't even really had the conversation with him yet about what happened with Bryce, because he's still.
How old is he?
He's 6.5.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, though, man, like he's big on football, man. Like he started flag football for his first year this past season. He knows like players' names. If you sit there, I was talking about Chuba Hubbard the other day with somebody, and he was in the background. He goes, "You mean Big League Chew?" I mean, he knows the nicknames. He's a big fan, man. And Bryce Young is his guy. He likes Bryce because Bryce is smaller and he was an outlier and he had a lot of doubters. And I've, instilled in my kid, hey, man, it doesn't matter what you look like, how big or strong you are. You do the things you want to do in life and you work hard, you can do them. And Bryce Young's an example of that. And so now it's kind of like, and sometimes you miss, like if you shoot, I've never met anyone that shoots 100%, right?
Yeah.
But what's the Michael Scott thing from The Office? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, making fun of the Wayne Gretzky line. So maybe that's the way to sell it.
What happened in Carolina is apparently setting a ripple effect in the NFL. It's like, maybe we shouldn't be starting these guys. Like, look at Drake May. Maybe start like Thursday Night Football is being played right now. Patriots are getting semi-blown out. I don't know if Drake May is going to be on the field right now, but the Patriots immediately, like, here's a high draft to do that. You're sitting. We're putting Jacoby Brissett.
Right.
I wonder if that's going to start to be the norm.
Maybe. And actually, it's funny because that was a question that was asked this week for the Cat Crave mailbag, where somebody says, should teams start following in that Green Bay Packers model, right, of drafting and letting a guy sit? And in theory, yeah, like if in a perfect world, that's a great way of going about things. The variable there is that not all teams have that luxury. If you look at how Green Bay kind of fell into that situation, Aaron Rodgers dropped in the draft. They got him in like 24th overall pick, I believe.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, 26 overall. And again, these were guys that had some top 10, top 15 grades by analysts that they thought they would go higher, and they kind of slipped. Green Bay being back further in the draft also meant they had a better team built around them right now, better rosters. And they also had the huge luxury of the quarterbacks in front of them weren't guys like Andy Dalton that were kind of on their tail end out and they weren't effective quarterbacks. They were all pro quarterbacks in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, right? Yeah. So like they weren't itching to get rid of them. They were just making sure that, hey, look, if these guys are out next year, which I think both of them ended up staying for an extra year when they thought they were going to be gone. So it gave another year for the guys to sit. That's kind of the luxury that you have to luck into, I think. But you can do what the Patriots are doing by saying if you have a veteran quarterback that you can either sign for cheap or that's already on the roster, let him start. Let it be a competition in camp. Make the rookie earn it. And maybe even if he looks like he's a better quarterback, give him 6 weeks to sit and learn and see if he progresses in practice after seeing real game action. You just get a better idea of what you can expect. So, yeah, if you can sit players, I think it's terrific. But I also don't think it's some sort of like one way to rule them all kind of thing, because you also got the guys like CJ Stroud that come in and play really well. And look, he's an anomaly, but I still think that he benefits very much from getting action immediately instead of sitting behind a guy like who did they have? I forget the guy they had.
Or before the Tyrod Taylor. Has Tyrod Taylor played? I feel like Tyrod.
Yeah, Davis Mills. Davis Mills is the guy I'm thinking of. Like, I don't think that he learns a whole lot watching Davis Mills play the position.
No.
Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a good teacher. Jacoby Brissett is a journeyman, but he's a solid NFL quarterback. Andy Dalton, I think, is a good example as well of someone you can learn from that's not a killer. But yeah, for CJ Stroud, man, I mean, it works. Trevor Lawrence, I think that bad year actually helped him in a weird way. I don't think he learns that much sitting behind Blake Bortles or something like that. Like it just doesn't do as much benefit. But there is a lot of legitimacy to giving guys time and a learning curve to come in and find more success.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. I believe it. But I will say it seems like sub 6 foot guys with, not super athletic, huge arms, that era might be done. I think, everyone's out to protect their jobs. I don't know what short quarterbacks are in the draft coming up. It seems like everyone's 6 foot plus, but I think I told this to my brother. I am never hitching my wagon on a cerebral quarterback with no athletic traits at all. As their superpower. I don't think I'm ever going to do that ever again. If you're cerebral, but you're like 6'3" and you got a laser rocket arm, perfect.
It's great. And it is tough though, because you got guys like Anthony Richardson that are like kind of from a prospect evaluation standpoint, it's almost the opposite, where it was like he hasn't played a whole lot of football, so we don't know how well he's going to handle NFL defenses and operating a NFL offense. And you're seeing that right now. I mean, the guy is throwing sub 50% completion rate right now. His throwing is not terrific. It's exactly what I thought it was when I evaluated him. Incredible arm talent, the ability to make throws that, I mean, they'll shut a defensive coordinator up. Like a defensive coordinator won't have an answer for some of the things that Anthony Richardson physically can do. And not to mention the athleticism as a runner with the ball and creating outside of the pocket. But he's also missing a lot of in-structure plays and on-schedule plays that you need from a quarterback for sustained drives and things like that, which we see what that did for the Panthers, man. When the time of possession is as bad as it was for the Panthers, because you're doing so many 3 and outs and you have no long sustained drives, your defense is gassed. Your offense can't find a rhythm. Your run game can never get into a rhythm, and it's crippling. So as awesome and wowing as a guy like Anthony Richardson, the big, strong guy, can be, if there's no consistency, man, you're getting crushed too. So that, I think, is where I could see the league really finding a new love fixation, is on ultra consistent, maybe less wow quarterbacks, at least from a rookie standpoint. Now, if you get a guy like Jalen Milroe out of Alabama right now, that dude's intriguing as hell, man. I mean, he's got every tool in the book. So I could see him being a high draft pick, but then you also got a guy like, Quinn Ewers or Neusmeyer out of LSU. I think that they're a little bit more like, hey, these are your classic pocket passers, and we feel like we can operate an NFL offense around them and be very good with it.
Yeah, I know. Jalen Milroe, not going to lie, I've done a couple 2025 NFL mock draft simulators, and somehow Jalen Milroe is still there in the second, third round. I'm like, that'd be great if Andy Dalton's cool to stick around, and let's say we win 7 games. It's like, okay, or 5 games, whatever. And it's like, Jalen Milroe, sit down, just watch, and figure it out. But so heading into Las Vegas, how are we feeling? Like I've seen the score prediction. Someone dropped down 57-2. Like, what do we think? It seems like we're that too. I saw that. The NFL Network, everybody hates us. That's just I've never felt this much hate in my life. But hearing from Deontay Johnson, hearing from Xavier Legette, who was saying he was kind of obviously, but I feel really bad for Xavier Legette after that last game. He had 20 members of his family there,
and he got never targeted.
Oh my God. And I'm sure they'd love to rather go to Vegas anyways. If I'm him, I don't know what his money situation is, bring him to Vegas. because he even said he's looking forward to catching deep balls from Andy Dalton. And I was like, oh, wow, you just said that? Bryce is in the room.
Kind of hurt, right? Right.
Wow.
And you know, Thielen said, or Deontay, the other guy that you mentioned there, said some things as well that if you read between the lines, I mean, it just sounded like he said, you know, when you got that veteran back there, you can kind of be more yourself. You kind of play the way that you play. And he's like, yeah, you got a guy cool and calm and collected back there. It really helps everybody else out. And like those are the little subliminal shots that I don't think are meant as disrespectful, but it does show that report about the wide receivers being frustrated in the locker room. You saw the physical frustration from Thielen and Deontay Johnson in week 2 on the field. If Xavier Legette only got 19 snaps, first of all, my beef would be with the coaching staff before anything there. I think that's an egregious mistake, first of all, right? But also, if he's sitting there saying, I'm going to get used more because this quarterback can do what I'm good at, then it worries you too that, like, man, even if Bryce wasn't confident, was he going to hold this all that? Or if he was confident, was he going to hold that post all that long if he wasn't able to run that offense? Yeah, going into Vegas, man, here's the silver lining about Vegas, and no pun intended with the silver.
I like it.
They are the worst run defense in the league, and they're worse than us. We give up almost 200 yards a game, 199 and a half yards a game we give up on the ground. They give up over 200. And they also stack the box 9th most in the entire league, which means they are trying their hardest to stop the run, and they can't. So if it gives you any hope,
at least,
we've got an excuse, right? And like Canales, this is a perfect get right situation for first-time head coach Dave Canales, in my opinion. He is getting ridiculed right now for not running the football, which he rightfully deserves, man. I get the first game turned into a blowout, but we were down 13-0 in the second quarter of that game, and he's throwing empty sets, 5 wide out, motioning the running back out. Like, run the ball, man. And this is coming off of chunk gains from Chuba Hubbard. So right now, this is a perfect setup for Dave Canales, because he gets to come in and say, why would I not rush the ball 30 times against a hemorrhaging run defense, right? Ease Andy Dalton into it. You're not looking for him to win that game for you. He hasn't taken a live snap since week 3 of last season. He didn't play any preseason.
Fun game
he's
too.
Coming off, and he's coming off injuries. Like, there are things for Andy Dalton that we should all be a little bit trepidatious about, right? Is it like he's got a couple of things against him coming into this, but he also has this run game, and that is a quarterback's best friend. Lean into Chuba Hubbard. I think that they can keep it close enough. Their offense isn't explosive. They also have the worst rushing offense in the league. They have, I think, the 7th best passing as far as yards per game. They're averaging right around like 237 yards per game, I believe. They spread it around a lot of yards after catch, which you would expect with a guy like a Jacoby Myers, a Devontae Adams. Brock Bowers has turned into a real weapon within 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
That's an interesting matchup, especially with our linebackers like Josie Jewell.
Who's going to cover him?
I would love to see Trevin Wallace get a little uptick this week, because I think that he has the athleticism and the coverage skills that he can at least be serviceable in that realm. Maybe in sub packages, you see him get rotated in a little bit more. But they're not the most threatening football team. They're scrappy. And I think one thing that isn't going to show up on the stat sheet is that when they won last week against the Baltimore Ravens, this is a real letdown spot for them as well. When you've got a team coming in, one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league, coming into your house after a big win, and you're feeling yourself, and you got a quarterback change here, and you got a team that's on the ropes, sometimes that proves to be a lot harder of a contest than you anticipate.
I remember that when it was the Teddy Bridgewater Panthers in the pandemic year against the Chiefs.
That's right.
And I was like, whoa, what's it? I was like, whoa, are we keeping
about
it
a possession away? Yeah.
What is going on? Like, not saying the Raiders are the Chiefs,
right?
Yeah, you just beat Lamar Jackson. Okay, you're taking on Lamar Jackson, MVP, and then Andy Dalton. No disrespect,
right?
And I think that totally makes sense. I agree with the running, because then you just get Max Crosby. Just try to nullify him as much as you can, because you want a dog, like, that guy's crazy. He is I would be very scared of that man.
100%.
In a grocery store, in a well-lit grocery store, I'd be like, no, I don't need fruit right now. You want this area to yourself? I'm going to go around.
I got a little bit nervous when you said his name, man. I was like, we're getting relatively close to Halloween. I don't want you to say it 2 more times and him like just appear behind me. You know what I mean? Like,
he'll run to Canada. I'm sure he can do it. But
that's
and cool. Like, it's I just want it to be a good show, honestly. Like, Yeah, if it's a 3-point game or something, like we got Aaron, like unnecessary bluntness, he's out there. Like if she's having a good time, and I just want him to have, I just want to have fun, like and you know what? I was walking around downtown Toronto in like the vintage area. There's a place with a lot of vintage thrift stores, and I ran into an Andy Dalton Bengals jersey, and I was like, "That's a sign."
It is.
Ready to
Did
play.
you buy it?
I did not. You know what? I probably should have.
Should have, man.
As like a joke.
You could have had that jersey on tonight doing this. You could have had it on Sunday. Man, you could have been the catalyst here.
You know, I got the day off on Friday. Tomorrow, I could draw. I bet that can't be asking for a lot.
It can't be, man.
It can't be.
And imagine if you were the reason that they won week 3. Imagine if it was all because of you, Phil. All the love and fame you could get from Panthers fans. Come on, man. That's worth it.
Get those subs. They need those subs.
That's right, man. And by the way, if you're watching this now, make sure that you have liked and subscribed to Phil's channel, one of the best Panthers content creators that there is out there.
No. Please don't. No, I'm just an idiot. Like, I'm just a fan.
That's what makes it so good, man.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot too.
That's the best part. Like, I sound like my friends still don't understand. Like, why do you do that? I'm like, do you want me to talk to you about this? Like, right. You don't care. I know you don't care. What do you think? What are your predictions for the game, or should we just go season? What do you think? Maybe we should talk later after this game.
Sure.
Something just to see how this goes. Because even my brother, who's a Seahawks fan, he's like, I want to watch this game. Like, I want to see, like, was it Bryce or was it the team? Like, how imagine, like, if Andy Dalton lights it up, which, everyone always points to that game in Seattle in week 3 where he lit it up. He also threw like over 50 times.
Correct.
You did see our wide receivers do things they hadn't done before.
That's true. Yeah, and they pushed the ball down the field, and he made better decisions. I think that you could expect not a similar production. I don't think that I would be shocked if Andy Dalton threw it over 28, 29 attempts, depending on game script. I think that anything more than that would be Canales forcing an issue. And I hope that he's a better coach than doing that. If Chuba Hubbard doesn't see 20 touches, if Miles Sanders doesn't see 10, or you know what, I'm cool too if you want to give Raheem Blackshear Miles Sanders.
I love the way Raheem Blackshear runs.
Me too.
I just wish Jonathan Brooks was healthy.
And that's what we have in our back pocket. And I know a lot of fans hate that we drafted in the second round a injured running back. I totally understand that concern and that disagreement with it. But Jonathan Brooks is a dynamic football player. I mean, he was in my top 30 prospects. He was my number 1 overall running back, despite the ACL. All of that went into his grade, and he still graded out higher for me than Trey Benson, who was my 2. I think that Jonathan Brooks comes in and offers a huge boost to this offense. Now, right now, especially with the way this year has gone, you wait until he's 100%. Like, you're probably not even going to try to ease him in if he's 80 or 90. You're going to wait probably a little bit. So maybe we don't see him until week 6, week 7 at this point. Yeah. But once he comes in, man, he gives you a glimpse of the future. If that offensive line keeps going this week in Las Vegas, I still won't bet on the Panthers to win. I'm not going to do it, man.
You guys have legal game betting now, right?
Yes, it's legal, and I will gamble, but I won't bet on the Panthers. Now, the one thing I will say is that we just shot our episode of Panthers on Tap last night, and we have our favorite bets segment because we partner with Sign Up Expert, and we have a landing page over there. But my favorite bet for the week is Chuba Hubbard over 49.5 yards. Ooh. I think that he is going to clear that possibly in the first half. I think he's going to be very involved. I think that they've got a really favorable matchup. And so for a prediction wise, I think they keep it close because of that. I think that you could see a 27-16 kind of ball game where maybe a late field goal is what takes it away from a one possession game, right? Like maybe it's 24-16 in the 4th. We're driving, they stop, they drive down and get a field goal with like 2 minutes left and kind of ice us. But I think it's going to be a competitive football game. I think Andy Dalton keeps you in it. I don't think he's good enough to just go and win the thing for you. But I expect a more competent approach. I hope that this defense, keep an eye on the defense, their rush defense against this rushing offense. Because if they struggle and they have problems against this team, man, that is very foreboding for the rest of the season as a Carolina Panthers fan, because this is the one chance you got against a team that doesn't even want to run the damn ball.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah. No one ever really talks about get right and like the Panthers are getting right. But I hope, normally we're the team people get right with. So it's weird to hear about another team could potentially be that. But I hope it's close. Like I think Andy Dalton brings that bro energy, and he's got the red hair. he's just like, I look at Aaron Rodgers playing on Thursday night, like obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but just like the effort attitude, like I think that kind of helps you play free. Like hopefully he doesn't feel like the weight of the team is on. He's had that before with the Bengals, who was before Joe Burrow, like was a historically, joke of a franchise, and
100%.
you could argue that they still are now, but like hopefully he doesn't feel that burden. He's like, man, I'm just gonna sling it. I'm 36, like this could be it. Like he had to like this. I never thought this was coming in. So I just hope that he just plays nice and free and just climbs up that pocket. I want to see. I just want to see that. I want to see the guy climb up the pocket. That's all I want to see.
Well, and you know what? He got a good chance of seeing that on Sunday too, because he's not going to get outside of the pocket and try to extend and create the way that Bryce Young would have, right? So I do think that if that pocket is open and he's still trying to take a couple extra seconds or something for a deeper concept to develop, yeah, man, I think you're going to see the veteran step up into it. And Phil, the first time I see it on Sunday, I'll have a little drink for you, man, and I'll think about this exact moment and how he fulfilled your dream.
Oh, I'd be so happy. And it's a 4:00 kickoff. I'm done work at noon, so then I can make my way home because I've been rushing trying to get these 1:00 games, and I got
tough, man.
Got the family, and like, oh, you're going to come home and watch football right away. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay,
and then they put you in that predicament where it's like, don't make me choose between football and the family because, like, I don't want to feel bad about choosing football.
Sorry. The best part is I had my nephew over who's 5 years old, and they're playing Lego, and I was like, you guys don't care what's on TV?
Right.
I don't have to watch Handyman Hal, and then I just, boop. I was like, this is amazing. Like,
that's it.
You guys do your thing. All right. Well, damn it, Ricky. I didn't say Ricky Bob. I didn't even say your name. I said it in the very beginning. But I appreciate you, and I can't wait to actually in a bar together, Sycamore Brewery or Wood Robot, any of those spots. I will get obliterated with you, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Hell yes, everyone, subscribe to everything. Like Panthers on Tap, especially. I love that. I love that podcast. Super fun, and it makes me want to drink in the middle of the day because that's when I listen to it.
That's right, man. And that's our goal is to make people either drink or to inform people about the Panthers. And luckily for us in our platform, those two things go pretty well hand in hand. So we got a nice little thing going there. But yeah, every Wednesday night we're live on YouTube and X. I still do the Bow Body Show every now and then. It'll be a little sporadic this year while I figure out that next path. And then you can find all my work at Cat Crave on a weekly basis.